Hi drummers, Garey Williams is back with yet another reaction and analysis video. This time we were going to revisit Neil Peart. This is a very interesting video. It's kind of a behind the scenes, no sound effects, as you will see in the title of the video. And Neil just kind of explains his solo, the trigger pad thing that he starts with the sound effects and how it travels throughout the house. And as it gets going on, more of the kind of 16th note stuff that he's doing with the kind of sampled drums, which are kind of a cool sort of ethnic log drum meets bongos kind of blend. Very cool. The sounds are always neat. And then he gets into some melodic stuff on his triggered marimba sounds, and then eventually the solo ends with him playing the real drums. So let's check this out. It's really quite informative to help you understand his thinking and how he goes about doing all this stuff. So this is Neil giving us an inside look at his solo. So here we go.
Basically, I'm going to play the intro for you, and then we'll spin around and I'll get on to the outro and leave out all the flash stuff in the middle. But basically, the sound man is covering me here, where I've got just I begin with just that, and then through the house, in an arena, for instance, we would have a quad system, so he sends that around the house, when she sits around the house. So the sound man's covering for me there, and I can build up my little fills, as I'll demonstrate in a second, and then gradually evolve it into a complete rhythm, and then develop that rhythm, and then bring melody into it. So I'm beginning basically, as I get introduced, I'm starting just with the chimes here, and then boom, 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 boom.
Love that. Right, left, doubles.
Kind of filling in as we go around, and then I get into the real drum stuff. And basically stay front, back, forth a little bit onto the marimba, tom things, snare things, all that kind of stuff. And then the big wind-up is basically big band samples, which the inspiration came from Count Basie record, and then I ended up making my own samples, so I felt kind of guilty about stealing people's sounds. So I went into a studio and got a synclavier and reproduced the tonalities that I was interested in, created the chords that I wanted, and then assigned them around the pads here and here and here, all in different pitches, so that I could create basically a musical piece as the culmination of the solo. Is that? So basically I come to and then
Let's talk about this. There's some really cool things that he explained here. Really nice stuff here. It's really great to be able to have somebody explain what the heck are they doing. And that's really important because you want to be able to understand that. And he does a really good job of kind of laying out how his whole solo kind of became what it is. So I was able to see a Neil Peart on the Moving Pictures tour at Seattle Center Coliseum many years ago. They played 2 nights in a row. I went to both nights, and then they took a night off, and then the day after that they drove over to Spokane to a Coliseum, which I also drove over and saw them. So I saw Rush 3 out of 4 nights in a row. Back when they had the movie projectors, not the digital big screens like they have today, like in sporting events or behind bands at concerts now that are really just like 1 or 2 stories tall, huge screens, very high definition. So when the guys with the cameras are pointing to musicians in the band, they can just make their face look like a billboard sign. The last time I saw Rush was at this White River Amphitheater in the Seattle area, and the screens were super huge, and Neil was larger than life, and all these guys, the monkeys or whatever they call them, up on the rafters with their cameras videotaping so they could show different angles of not only him but the rest of the band. I was actually able to sit on the side and even slightly behind Neil with Rush. This was extremely helpful in the day because back then, again, they didn't have those high definition, huge digital screens. So I would bring binoculars and just sit there and look at Neil at certain key points in his playing, because one of the things we love about Neil is that he would always perform things live the same way he would record them. They were always very worked out, so when he got to the performance, it was the same thing. Rarely would he change things up. Maybe during the solo he would alter things, but the parts to the songs were almost always the same. There was a couple songs where he changed, and one particular, I don't remember the title, where the fills were different than the recording, but they were still very cool. Anyways, it was very helpful to be able to see him live and kind of get that up-close perspective and understand a bit more about his playing. Also, I've also studied his DVD called The Anatomy of a Drum Solo. Highly recommend that. If you're interested in learning more about Neil Peart's style of drum soloing, his inspiration behind the different movements of his solo, as he mentioned the big band thing at the end there, I think that was partly inspired after he put together this culmination of drummers performing with the Buddy Rich Big Band called Burning for Buddy. This happened after Buddy Rich passed away. Neil Peart, like many drummers, were so hugely inspired by Buddy that we wanted to do something for him. So Neil got this idea to put together this tribute. And he had these other drummers perform with the Buddy Rich Big Band. He also did, but some of the other drummers at the time that were pretty well known that sat in and did a track with him was Bill Bruford, Simon Phillips, Marvin Smitty Smith, Greg Bissonette did a track, and I'm not sure who else did. There's a couple of other drummers. It's been a long time since I've seen that, but it was really great to watch those different drummers play with the Buddy Rich Big Band. And there's even a behind-the-scenes thing where Neil's talking about this tune, and he's not really sure if he's going to be able to bring the band back in quite right, because he's not really a big band drummer. He's trying to do big band, and he does a pretty good job, but he's not like a veteran guy like Louis Bellson or any of these other famous big band drummers that's their whole life gig. Neil's been a rock drummer, getting into jazz much later. He actually studied with Peter Erskine for a while to improve his jazz feel, I'm sure. But it was really cool, and all these drummers sounded great, of course, and Neil did a really great job in this one little segment. There was this little thing he would do if he got kind of separated from the band to cue him, and he kind of explains what it was that he did and how it worked out, and the recording sounded good. So kudos to Neil for putting together this recording session in honor and tribute to Buddy Rich. But again, if you really want to understand Neil's soloing, get his DVD, The Anatomy of a Drum Solo. It's fantastic. Keith Moon was one of his big inspirations when he was young. And if you see Neil play live, oftentimes during that fast, choppy section of his solo, where he's playing a lot of snare drum, kind of rudimental stuff, he went back to traditional grip. When he started playing the drums, all the drummers at the time studied traditional grip. And he did himself. He went through all his rudiments with traditional grip. He even took some time to study with this famous teacher named Freddie Gruber, which Dave Weckl studied from, Steve Smith studied from, Peter Erskine had a lesson with, John Riley. A lot of drummers studied with this guy. And that's when he started learning to play more off the drum instead of pound through it. He used to say he'd almost like play through the drum until he studied with Freddie and he learned more about rebound and resonant sound. And he didn't mash the beater into the bass drum as much. He would play off the bass drum to get more resonant tone. And that's when he left the 2 bass drum kit and he went to a single bass drum with a double pedal and brought the ride cymbal up and moved his big tom in the middle instead of what he had, those 4 concert toms, 3 racks, 2 floors, and a gong bass drum for the longest time back in the old Tama days. And in this case, this drum set was a Ludwig drum set, if you didn't notice. Years ago, I read an article in Modern Drummer where Neil Peart was interested in checking out some other drum companies' drum sounds. He was a longtime Tama drum user, birch shells, and he wanted to explore some different sounds. So he made an arrangement with some of the drum companies to be able to get a copy or get a hold of a drum set. And some of the companies that I remember that provided a drum set for his test drive was Premier, Ludwig, and I'm not sure what the other ones were. I don't think Yamaha was interested in participating in this experiment. But he said that it took him a long time, because his ears would get tired and he'd have to take breaks. But he came in, and after he did all the drums and tuned them all up the same and played them, he said the winner was Ludwig. The Ludwig classic maple drums. Those are the drums that I play. Fantastic. Probably the best sounding maple shell on the market is probably the Ludwig classic maple. And those are just great drums. Vinny Colaiuta played those drums for a period of time. So there's some recordings with Vinny with his Ludwig drum set before he went back to playing the Gretsch drums, which are also fantastic drums. They're all good, especially when you have a good drummer. But I like that, the whole stage spin thing. Years ago, after Neil left Zildjian and went up to the Sabian factory and had Mark Love help him design the Paragon Series cymbals, which are very unique. The bells are hand hammered. The body of the cymbal is machine hammered. They use kind of an AA lathing pattern on top, and then an AAX pinpoint lathing pattern on the bottom, or maybe that's the reverse. But there's a certain kind of attack and swell that he was looking for, and a coloration. And they actually designed the Paragon China. In this video, he was playing Zildjian cymbals with Wuhan, made in China cymbals, which he played for many years. And then I spoke with Mark Love, the product specialist at Sabian, and he said that he'd always never found a China that he liked from Zildjian, so he always used the Wuhan until Sabian came up with their Paragon series, which were custom-made cymbals specifically for Neil, and then he really loved the China. And I own one too. I love the Paragon 19-inch China. It's fantastic. So I like this sort of breakdown. If you want to get into more details, get the DVD, The Anatomy of a Drum Solo, and watch that. One time I actually transcribed the whole beginning to the tune Jacob's Ladder off of the Exit Stage Left live album that Rush did. Having seen Rush in concert, I always enjoyed seeing Neil play because I could figure out finally what he was doing with binoculars, because he'd play it again the same way and the live that he did on the recording. But what was interesting, he didn't play the introduction to Jacob's Ladder live on the Exit Stage Left the same as he did on the Permanent Waves album, which was kind of a breakaway from what he would normally do. But it was very similar. There's a lot of rudimental marching single and double stroke stuff that was very cool sounding. And since I had a lot of marching background and a lot of rudimental skill at that point, I was able to sit down and transcribe what he was doing and then play along with him, which is very, very cool. When you can finally understand what somebody's doing, and your reading literacy is to a level like with English language, where if somebody says something, you could write down with letters and words exactly what they said. Imagine being able to do that when you hear a drummer play, write out in drumming notation exactly what he was playing. That's a skill set that I can help you with. So if any of you out there are interested in learning how to be able to play some of the stuff that Neil Peart's playing, whether it's in a solo or any Rush tune, get a hold of me for lessons, because I can definitely help you out. I have lots of experience with Neil's playing, understand it quite extensively, have studied it a lot, even played his music before, seen him in concert, as I mentioned, 4 times actually, saw him. And it was just great to see him as his drumming's evolved over the years. I think his playing just progressed from 2112, A Farewell to Kings, Permanent Waves, and then a culmination of his expertise was in the Moving Pictures album, which we're all familiar with. Anyways, I hope you like this breakdown, discussion, reaction, analysis of Neil's playing. Also, I have a cool Facebook group that you might be interested in, and some really awesome drum set courses. All that information is in the text box below, so check it out. If you like this, give me a couple thumbs up. Share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, please, and come back and see me on my next reaction analysis video. And if you're interested in lessons and wanting to progress, contact me. We can do a consultation phone session to see what you want to accomplish, who your inspirations are, what your influences are, where you want to go with your drumming. And that's kind of my area of expertise, is custom tailoring a curriculum and direction to help you get out of your drumming what it is that you want to learn. Not what I want to teach you, but what you want to be taught. That's the way I do lessons. They're all geared toward what the student wants to learn. So contact me if you're interested in that. I can definitely help you improve your drumming. Until then, take care, have an awesome day, and I will see you on the next reaction and analysis video. Until then, see you then. Bye-bye.